I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me? Bad times are coming and I reap what I done sowed. Hey, hey. Well, let me tell you something, all that glitters ain't gold. Hey, hey. It's been a long old troublesome road, and I'm looking for somebody come and help me carry this.
Oakland, Ho Chi Minh territory, and streaming live online at www.poormagazine.org/radio. This is your co-host Muteado Silencio, con voces de migrantes en resistencia. We formerly housed this Pablo Scala's Tiburcio Garcia and Tiny A.K. Pablo Scala, and from Worcester Commons, LaMonte-4 in the house. This is Tiny.
From Lamonte lands to Coast Miwok to Uchun, from Philly to San Rafael to right here in the town. That's Oakland. This is your special co-host, Lamonte Ford, formerly unhoused resident of Wood Street Commons, here today with my Homefulness Poor Magazine family. And on today's broadcast of Poor People's Radio, we will talk with comrades from Poor People's Army in Philly, a.k.a. Lenape Lands. Robbie Powelson from so-called San Rafael, warrior for houseless relatives out there, and then we will talk with what's going on this Saturday in Uchun with the release ceremony of the Untour book with my family, the Wood Street Commons, and more.
First of all, this is PNN, not CNN, relatives. Thank you to another day of unpimped, unbought, unplayed, and unsold. Poor People's Radio. Welcome to Mama Earth Day, because Paula tricksters want to sweep us all away. Welcome to Mama Earth Day, because we houseless peoples are hurt first and worst in climate terrorism every day. Sweep the courts like they do to us, because there's no more room under the bus. And that's no place for any of us. So how about house keys, not handcuffs, and sanctuaries, not sweeps? How about no more of us need to live on these occupied streets? So yeah, we are blessed to be here on the small part of unceded Ohlone Lashon territory, standing in solidarity and warriorship with our First Nations relatives, because we know that not only are these sweeps killing us houseless people, but they're the same trajectory of genocide that removed the first peoples from this land. I'm blessed to be with my brother Muteado Silencio, co-founder and worker and warrior poet at Homefulness and teacher, as well as Lamonte Ford, also here, family from Wood Street Commons, which are one of our powerful family members in this liberation of Mama Earth. Well, we want to talk briefly about, we have some powerful guests tonight and we want to bring them in, but before we do that, I just want to talk for those of us who are in Uchun, that this coming Saturday is a powerful release ceremony of, excuse me guys, a powerful release ceremony of the Untour book. And Brother Tibu on the ones and twos is going to bring up a flyer, okay? And people can see. The Untour book itself is an act of resistance to settler colonial lies of capitalism, of the lie of owning Mama Earth, of the settler lie of public. But it's also a prayer to unwash this settler land. Moot, you want to say a little bit about the Untour book?
Boy, again, you know, and we're gonna have folks like Elder Corina Go from the Ho Chi Minh Lashon Nation, and again, just that, you know, as people, you know, they say that indigenous people are no longer here, specifically Ohlone people, even though we know they are, even if they're not federally recognized, which I know they're working on. Again, they're here, you know, in some of the sacred places too that I know and hope that our auntie can share, you know, even just the Strawberry Creek that runs right now in Berkeley, in which they actually working on revitalizing it and bringing it back. In like my sister Tanya was saying, it's a prayer. We'll have Ifat, African prayer, libations, and again, also this book marks that as people of color, as indigenous people, that we're still here, even though in some of these books, some of these maps, try to erase us, and some of these statues to of Christopher Columbus, which actually was one of the first folks who committed genocide here in the Americas, and again, there is a medicine that is need to be told, as right now we're facing the erasure of our people, like this nonsense that somehow the orange cracker in the White House can somehow change the name of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of Americana. And then again, it's an ongoing intellectual war that the powers that be have against our people.
Oh,
The same thing. He's trying to erase the African American Museum. I don't know in the name of it, and also don't want schools to be teaching slavery. He wants to. Let's focus on what positive things America have done.
oh,
What?
yeah,
Trying to erase black and brown people.
right.
Shame.
So this humble book is just scratches the surface of unwashing these settler colonial lies of ownership, of so-called clan marks that you basically have to commit genocide to get a monument or a statue. We had a powerful release ceremony in Coast Miwok lands last week, a couple weeks back. But we invite you all to come through this Saturday. Um, it will be April 26th at 3 p.m. at the Eastside Arts Alliance in Oakland. That's East Oakland. Again, Eastside Arts Alliance, and it'll be at 3 p.m. And it's a prayer, it's medicine, and there'll be a lot of powerful sharing because we know that we've all been lied to in this capitalist system. So come through. That said, I'm really excited to bring up our guest who's here all the way from occupied Lenape lands, Philly, where my mama Dee's from, the streets of North Philly. You don't know the ghetto till you go back east. That's all I want to say on that. Because my mom was hard. She was OG, ghetto scholar, and our beautiful family at Poor People's Army continue to be warriors, and we continue ourselves to be proud members of the Poor People's Army.
Oh,
Galen, welcome back to Poor People's Radio.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Tiny. It's always a pleasure. The energy that's going on with the work that y'all doing out there, on the West Coast, and in particular, with Poor People's Magazine and Poor People's Radio, keeps giving us like inspiration when we be showing different members around here on the East Coast what they can do. If they start working together and unity and start basing a lot of things on a lot of truths, versus lies, like you
Oh,
were just speaking on. So thanks for
Ashe.
having me. Thanks for having me.
For sure. It's our pleasure, Galen. We love you. We love Poor People's Army, all y'all warriors. So much liberation at the Demi Convention when we went back with you, but I won't go
Yes.
back into that rabbit hole. Right now, we in the reign of the Orange Cracker King. Oh my God. Um,
Yes.
can you tell? Can you tell listeners? Because it's a war out here. It doesn't stop every damn day. Every day they coming for us with this sweeps violence ever since Grants Pass versus Johnson. But I know that it's the same thing for y'all, and I know that you've done some powerful work like reclaiming homes, taking back these abandoned, hoarded, so-called properties, and I also know that you've doing some resistance work, like getting a spot for yourselves. So maybe you could just start by what the climate in Lenape land, so-called Philly. What's going on out there right now with your relatives, with your folks?
Yes. It's pretty much the same that's going on, where brown folks are everywhere, and particular, I'm going to a lot of the restaurants the car washes, you know what I mean, and different neighborhoods, and just like it's just horrible because they're just picking and choosing. You know, one day we're just gonna snatch up some people, and and you might not hear from them again.
Oh my God.
Um, and so we've been having, people from all different, parts of like Latin America, as well as even, places that you wouldn't even think of, people that have been living here, been citizens, been here for, couple of decades, have been snatched up, good friends of ours that were Turkish. Um, and so we just see them just opening the door up, to like when they just snatching people's rights, kidnapping them, taking them and not allowing them to be able to have contact with family, relatives, or anything like that. We're just saying that, they're just moving towards, this really truly fascist system that has no shame. We always knew that they didn't have any shame in the way they acted, but they always tried to do it in some sneaky, conniving way. Now they're just straight up in our face, just saying either we have to put up some resistance, or these are the things that's just going to keep continue to happen to your people. And so we've been trying to put lot of pressure on a lot of the faith community here. As being as a sanctuary city, trying to ensure that like different people, different families that we think that are possibly under attack, try to find some sanctuary with them. And so we've been working real closely with like the new sanctuary movement out here and trying to educate people, get all the documents, put things in line, making sure that they got contact people and try to always, you know, be together with someone because it being here in Philly is kind of tricky because of the neighborhoods in the community. It's kind of so mixed and blended that sometimes they just pick and choose. And you'd be like on a Tuesday and Thursday, then you hear about the next day in the paper, someone, loved one who's, who's an American citizen, you know what I mean, being snatched up by ICE here.
Wow. That's some crazy ish, man. First of all, thank you for doing that work. And we know that so many of our warriors are not only being harassed, not only being constantly threatened by this violent system, but also, those are our folks. Those are the folks that walk with us in marches for poor folks' rights, right? In the kitchens, taking care of folks' babies, taking care of people's communities. What, they're gonna try to take us all? Is that what they're doing? Like really
Well,
though?
yeah, because people know when you knock the bottom out of something, what's above it falls down, and I think
Ah,
that's and I think that's what they're doing. And they're setting it up where they're going to be able to just do what they want to any and everybody that they choose to. Once they go for one group, they're going to go to the next group and then the next group, and so we're trying to link up right now. You know, so that's why we love the work that you're doing out there on Tiny. The radio being out there to get this message out there because it's like time is running short.
yeah.
We really got to start working together, and it's not about like trying to get you to believe. What I believe. We see it ourselves. It's a reality today. They're coming for us and our loved ones, and the only recourse is us coming together.
Oh, that part. Um, Galen, I know that in all of this violence coming from all directions, you guys have also finally, after all these years, and I'm so excited because I feel like we had a little bit to do with that. Just linking you up with some conscious wealth hoarders back in the day. I heard
Oh,
you got a spot, fam. That's what's up.
yeah, and
Tell us about it.
well, what's so crazy? The wicked is always working,
Ugh.
and so even though we raised the money and we had the spot picked out, they backdoored us, and
No.
yes, and said someone had already bought the place, but it's still sitting there empty, nothing's happening to it, and so it was like one of the best spot in relationship to like us outright having raised the money, and we truly appreciate that relationship with RG from back in the day, you know what I mean, that have led us to this point where we was straight outright going to buy a building. So now we have some other different little hurdles and obstacles that we got to go over, but it's right over the horizon. We are dealing with a lot of different things in relationship to, like, a lot of losing some loved ones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Members of the movement.
Yeah.
Um, just lost another one. Has a memorial coming up on May 3rd. Cecilia Perry, you know what I mean? Longtime union lawyer organizing for the people, you know what I mean? The working class.
Oh.
Um, yeah, so it just seemed like, as we keep fighting, you know what I mean? Like, time is moving quickly. And so with that, we're just looking at the urgency of, like, us really getting on the ground and with, you know, like, good terms. I just, we're so appreciated, you know what I mean, of some of the terms, you know what I mean, you've been able to use to wake people up in relationship to being poverty scholars
Oh
out
yeah.
there. Like, we have to, like, really unlearn a lot of people,
Yeah.
but people are quick right now to want to do something just because, they don't see no future. And
Ah.
and when you have kids and you don't see no future, people want to get active. And we're just trying to not let them get active in the wrong thing.
That
You
part.
know, we want them to be set up with some people that are really about to building an army, a nonviolent army. You know what I mean? That's made of people from the Poor People's Army that's going to try to figure out how to, like, keep people alive, as well as, try to build towards um, an economy and a society. You know what I mean? That's for the masses of us, because
Right.
it's all the opportunity for us to do it. It's like a, what I mean, a handful, you know what I mean, that just keeps, like, being like a little fly, keep, what I mean, keep pecking at the giant, you know what I
That's
mean?
right. That's
And
right.
and we have to just wake up and just smash these flies, you know what I
Okay.
mean, and go about the business at hand, because
Oh.
it's just so much to do, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And we appreciate the people that's out there doing the work, you know what I mean, throughout the entire country, because everybody don't get talked about, you know what I mean, when we go through these communities. That's the reason why, because the same soulful connection that we have with Poor People's Magazine out there, that's how we want to have relationships with people throughout the country, because that's what we're going to need to get through these tough times. Um,
Oh.
the money, all that stuff they're going to be trying to control, and what we're going to be able to control is how we work together.
Ashe. Ashe. Galen, as we're going down in some time here, what is on the horizon? I know you just released a book too. Really
Yes, we do.
beautiful. Tell us about that and what's
Yeah.
on the horizon for you guys. We
Yeah,
want
right
people to know.
now, Sherry, who's our national spokesperson, who's now have went on and became the, in charge of the Poor People's Press that we have right now, that's putting out books, as well as having her, doing speaking engagements around the country. She's always open to come speak. We have this new book, our first book that we have. We have a couple on the horizon, but the first one we have out right now is called Takeover: A Human Rights Approach to Housing. And
Uh,
it goes into detail, what I mean, steps and the process on how you take over these houses and house the unhoused. What we've been doing for over 30, 40 years. And we kind of came up with a little a method to it that allows people to be able to buy times, you know what I mean, and help a family survive, you know what I mean, another day and another day.
oh.
Mm.
And that's called Takeover.
Yeah, it's called Takeover.
That's up. I just want to again lift up our family from Poor People's Army and Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. So we got Poor Press and Poor People's Press. How about that?
Oh,
How about
Yeah,
that?
Ah,
How
shit.
about
yeah,
that?
I
I
say.
love it. I love it. Where can folks get a copy of the book and support the work that y'all doing right now? Where's
Yeah,
that?
you can go to Poor People, no, just, yeah, poorpeoplespress.com, or you can
Okay.
go to poorpeoplesarmy.org.
Okay. You heard it. poorpeoplesarmy.org, poorpeoplespress.com.
Absolutely.
We about that life, fam. We love you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to tell listeners and viewers before we sign off?
Just be looking forward in the near future for the Sherry Hunkler Community Center that's going to be opening up in Kensington.
Oh,
We're going to be having invites, for all of our
let's
comrades
build it.
from around the country on opening and trying to figure out how to use this as a beacon, to try to keep continuing the fight and the work that we're doing and keep shining the light on it.
Oh, well,
Oh.
Mama D's watching over y'all, so something right is coming up real fast, fam.
I
Okay.
say.
I say, we love you so much, Galen.
All right, Galen.
Oh, we
for your
love y'all
work,
too,
Galen.
Tony. It's
All
always
right.
good. And like they got all this like land in between us, But the energy and the love is always there.
Oh,
Oh.
that's what's up. We love you, fam.
Poor
We'll talk to
People's
you
Army.
Poor People's Army in the
All
house.
That's right.
Talk to you real soon.
right, no doubt.
All right. So I wanted to turn to our beautiful special co-host right now. Before we do that, we're going to just remind listeners and viewers that you are listening and watching Poor People's Radio on PNN KEXU 96.1 FM on the dial in East Oakland, aka Uchun. And you're also watching Poor Magazine on all the digital streets and Poor News Network on YouTube. But having said that, we have the blessing of having our beautiful brother Lamonte Ford here as our special co-host tonight.
Hey, how you guys doing?
All right. And Monty, maybe you could start by just, for folks who don't know what Wood Street Commons even is, because we have listeners all over the world, why don't you tell them a little history and your relationship to that history, who you are in that family?
Okay, first I'd like to say no barriers, bricks, or borders.
Oh.
Okay, that part.
United we all stand.
Oh,
Wood Street Commons was life for me. I lost a lot of family members in the same month, same year, and I took to suicide. Instead of that, I found this community that was thriving, a place for me to thrive, a place for me to be, without judgment, without discrimination. I just felt welcome there. And so I met and grew up with a new lease of life.
okay.
So now what we're doing is we're still trying to stand up for those that are out there, our other fallen family members that are still out there, that are suffering, going through this violent takeover, if you will,
Yeah.
because it is war.
Yes.
I mean, we are really dying out there. The power is in their hands, but
Yeah.
we've got the people.
Okay.
So the people are going to survive.
Okay. And so, there's a lot of evolutions, and one of the things that I think people fetishize poverty. And they don't understand and overstand that when we're on the street currently, we are just worrying about, like Brother John said from Mosswood, getting some potable water,
No doubt.
right? We aren't even in a place, hardly, sometimes to think about the next day, the next hour. We're right there in the moment. Try living outside, family. And I'm not saying that as a dare. I'm saying try that life, and it breaks us in so many ways.
It really does.
Tell us, Monty, where Wood Street Commons is at now. What are we doing?
Well, right now we're having like town hall meetings every first Saturday of every month. We're doing outreach right now. We're going out to where the people are that are in need, and we're providing the service for them. We're trying to fill in the gaps of where the city and the state and federal governments fail to fill. And it is such a pleasure to be able to do that because we know those other entities aren't going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's an interesting topic. Don't get me started on a non-profiteer, okay? You already know anti-social workers and case manglers. Tiny is here. I do want to shout out to Auntie Frances, Self-Help Hunger Program, Manna
Yes,
from
yes.
Heaven, Omawali, Poor Magazine, because, we're in the streets every day. Wood Street Commons, we're in the streets every day,
Yeah.
supporting our relatives any damn way, right?
No doubt.
Whether that means hygiene supplies, whether that means a tent, whether that means food, whether that means medicine, whether that means navigation of the system. But these people that are paid all this money to pimp us, basically, and make money off our back, oftentimes ain't never missed a meal, as my Mama D would say.
No doubt.
Right? And yet they make money managing our poverty.
Mm.
So I just want people to trip off that for a minute. What curls and boils my blood is that when we're on the street every day and we're trying to support folks, it's so hard to get a crumb out of those institutions, right?
You're right.
So what's happening right now? We just came off this violent sweep at Mosswood on Monday. And who rolls up?
All the officers, the
Right.
cops.
All the cops,
DPW.
all the non-profiteers with their fake, not really solutions, giving a few people sort of that they picked and choose the extended stay situation.
Exactly.
Can you tell listeners about this so-called extended stay? What's going on with that
Well,
mess?
the extended stay was meant to encapsulate Mosswood and another cabin site that's closing on Wood Street. There's not enough rooms in there to encapsulate all the folks.
Exactly. And then, like, that's not enough. You might think, oh, extended stay, we're going to be laying up in there.
Not at all.
No.
They've removed all of the amenities from the extended stay. There's no televisions, there's no phones, there's no refrigerators, there's no microwaves, no type of way to cook. I mean, that's setting up people for failure, if you ask me.
Thank you. Sister Princess, who had the blessing of speaking to, who was one of the residents of Mosswood, facing immediate eviction, where she had to get all her life belongings in like 10 minutes or the cops was going to arrest her. Just hold that in your heart. This is an elder. Was the way she looked at it was it's an internment camp. She's terrified to go there.
Well, that's what they're doing already. They're just trying to warm us up to the idea. But, you know, we with Wood Street Commons and Po folks, we know, we understand. We're getting prepared.
Okay.
So we're not going to fall in for that crap.
Thank you. I mean, it's really important to note that, and shout out to our relatives from Etna Street Solidarity, to shout
Here,
out
here.
to our relatives in Tavangar reclaiming our homes, and LA Can and others, and all of us up here. But one of the things that's really important to note is, as my brother Monty talked about, we are preparing. I want to say we're preparing by creating our own solutions.
No doubt.
We're sitting in a solution. Best believe this Liberation Radio,
Here,
Tibu on
here.
the ones and twos, right? My brothers Monty and Moot here and so many more. That wouldn't be possible without the fact that this is liberated land. This is liberated, stolen, I might add, from the first peoples, but with permission and protocol, us poor and houseless people have built Homefulness, a homeless people solution to homelessness. Tibu, can you pull up the Homefulness flyer?
Yes.
And right now we're trying to build Homefulness too. And I want to say that, yeah, it's about money. Us poor people like Wood Street Commons and Homefulness and Four Magazine, we don't got 2 nickels to put together. We can't do this without resources from folks who have race and class privilege,
Right.
who are radically redistributing so we can build our own. So I want to put that out to relatives who are listening or viewing. The session of People School is going to be in Black August. We encourage people to come through. We also encourage you to kick down right now to Bank of Come Unity Reparations, which is going to support Homefulness too, actually getting the solar systems, getting the homes. And then I want to turn to Wood Street Commons again, because I know you've been working with an architect on this beautiful idea.
Mm-hmm.
Tell listeners and viewers about that.
Well, it is our belief that this system, if you will, I like to call it a system because, you know, academies and all that stuff is so traumatic for us all growing up already. I like to call it a system. In this system, I believe that, well, we believe that it could eradicate homelessness, period. We're reaching people where they are. The hardest problem that we're facing is land.
Okay.
We're trying to get land for this system to arise. Of course, we got a lot of pushback from city, state, and federal governments. They don't want to see that happen because it takes money from their pockets. Actually, it wouldn't take anything from their pockets. We would just exist in a
Right.
better form
Thank
and
you.
eradicate homelessness.
Okay.
But they want to fight against that.
They want to keep their jobs.
Of course they do. Of course they do. But it's going to have wraparound services in the system, meeting people where they are as far as their housing situation goes. If they're comfortable in the tent, there's a little space over there for them
Okay.
to be in a tent. RVs, there's a space for
Right
RVs.
on.
There's going to be therapists there. Open campfires.
Okay.
My brother John.
Okay, all right.
Those
Shout out
things
to John Janasco
Yes,
if you're
yes,
listening,
yes.
brother. We love you.
But yeah, it's very really warming to be in this radio environment right now because I know how hard it was for it to exist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here for pushing through.
Okay, never stop, can't stop, won't stop, right?
That's right.
Let me go back a step too, though, because what you said is so terrifyingly true. I want to ask my brother Moot to speak on. It took us 11 years, once we already even got this small part of Mama Earth. Once we asked permission and protocol with our relatives, our beautiful auntie warriors, Karina Gould and others from Segurite Land Trust, took 11 years because the city of Oakland, and you know I like to call it something else, kind of block us at every turn with these permit gangsters. And one of our elders at the time said, they ain't trying to let you open this. You would be a threat to that money trail that they counting on. Not to mention the fact that liberation itself is a threat to the capitalism, right? So I also just want to say that self-determination, like Wood Street Commons, like homefulness, that is an act of revolution. For those of you young people who are looking to put your resources into liberation work, recognize that radically redistributing so that poor people can build self-determined movements, that is revolution. I want you to tell listeners and viewers, Monty, about what's going on May 30th.
May 30th, that's our resource fair. It's also the day that they're shutting down the cabins that the city so-called was the answer, was their solution to homelessness. That is now once again threat of being evicted. On that day, they will be evicted. But we're going to be there. I mean, that's our brothers, that's our sisters, that's our blood. That's where my life began.
Okay.
I got a new life there.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to have a resource fair that day.
And it's going to be prayer, a poor magazine. We're going to
Oh,
offer
yeah.
danza, we're going
Yeah.
to poetry.
No
we're going
doubt.
to do a lot of beautiful things.
We're going to do it the right way.
Okay? Like we always do. So listen, relatives, you need to show up. And if there's anybody out there, are you still letting people have tables? Is there space
Of
for
course.
that? Okay.
They could reach us at woodstreetcommons.org if they
Okay.
would like to table there.
Okay.
We're always open to have invites. I mean,
Okay.
we're always inviting people. So,
Ashe,
yeah, there's
ashe.
no time too late. We'll
right.
squeeze them in.
All right, all right. And shout out also to Leger, our beautiful sister warrior, who's also a resident of Homefulness, but
Yes,
also
yes.
a warrior with Wood Street Commons. Also shout out to Monique, Jeannie, Freeway. There's so many family members. We so love you so much. But what I wanted to turn to now is we have brother Robbie. Is Robbie here with us, babe? Robbie, welcome to Poor People's Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thank
Always,
you so much.
always. You on tonight with Monty and myself and Moot.
That's
Hey,
right. It's
Robbie.
good seeing you all.
What's up, Robbie?
Hey, Robbie. I know you were out there today at the rap movement too. We didn't get a chance to check in, and shout out to RAP, to Western Regional Advocacy Project. Today was so beautiful, really powerful, right there at the lake, where the site of the removal of so many relatives continues, locking up the lake, as we say.
Amen. Yeah, it's
Right. But Robbie, can you tell listeners and viewers what's happening in Coast Miwok, occupied Coast Miwok lands, aka San Rafael, with houseless relatives?
I th- right now. I think thinking of Novato, we've had Camp Compassion for the last 5 years, and Camp Compassion came out of a struggle during COVID-19, where camp at Lee Gerner Park was swept on multiple occasions, and people came together, fought back, and we unionized with the California Homeless Union and sued the city and got a settlement where we basically got almost what could be considered a lease to the park for almost 2 years. And so during the time that Camp Compassion was at Lee Gerner Park, almost 40 people got housed, and it was really it was just a self-governed space, and like police couldn't come into the camp.
Mm.
There was unless there was probable cause. There's a lot of ownership, and people were able to use that as a stepping stone to really move forward their lives. And unfortunately, there was a fire in July, and after that, the city basically terminated the program, the settlement agreement. So, um, and we're just letting but Camp Compassion is still together. So even though they closed it down before they, come and sweep everybody, we actually came together as a community. We got the U-Haul trucks, and we moved out to a new location, which we're keeping, kind of under the wraps right now. But it's
Oh,
still in Novato, and yeah, so we're just sticking it together. So Camp Compassion is still alive, and we're still,
that's what's up.
trying to hold the city accountable, making sure that they don't try and, uh, evict people from the new location. We keep having stability. We have weekly Sunday dinners where we come
Mm-hmm.
out, feed the people.
That's
So yeah, we're
wonderful.
holding it down right now.
That's what's up. You know what? I want to just say for those of you, and I don't know if my brothers either have a question for you, but I want to say that, people only associate with so called Marin County with extreme wealth hoarders. And I think that it's really important to tease it out for a second that those wealth hoarders always have their servants. They have folks who are constantly, working for them. And then they also have people that they throw away. You know, there's no love in the life of a wealth hoarder for poor people. And not only that, but they actively want to unsee, our bodies and our lives, which really is the same all across occupied Turtle Island. But to me, it's really extra, a little extra salt on the wound in places and spaces like that have so much resources, but they won't just give you sovereign land. Like, really, though? And I just
Right.
wonder, right? I just wonder, Robbie, because, we've been on and off working with Robbie and others out there in so-called Marin County because where else would it make sense, of course, to have a homefulness? These people have money, they're falling over that kind of money. And
Hey, that's right.
you know what I'm saying? And yet they can't possibly kick down some of their stolen and hoarded wealth so that the people have nothing could have a sanctuary land. Again, house keys not handcuffed, sanctuaries not
Right.
seized.
Preach.
That's right.
Preach.
You
Yeah.
feel
Well,
me?
that's
So go ahead.
amen. Yeah. Well, no, that's what we need help with, because I think in Marin County, we're kind of isolated. Even though there's a lot of homelessness and a lot of poverty in Marin County that
Right.
is just swept under the rug. But still, I mean, there's in general, uh, we're very isolated from a lot of the. You know, there's such a disparity, right? There's so much inequality. So we're so far below the people who are dominating the community that it's like it almost seems impossible to get anything started. But that's why we need help, and that's why I'm always checking out the other parts of the Bay Area and trying to get it's like when you all came over to Ross to protest Gavin Newsom. It's like, how can we bring people from different parts of the Bay and the California to come together? Because
Exactly.
Marin County, that's what we need. I want to invite you all to come over.
Ashe.
Yeah.
Can you? And so So your new quote unquote location is under wraps, which I love. So let's hope. Let's keep it that way.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't tell us the address. We don't need to know.
Right. Right.
But what are you thinking in the future? Do you have any events coming up? Do you have things that you want folks, or do you want folks to just support? What's the best way they can help you right now?
Well, like every Sunday we have dinner, and so people can find me on Facebook or Instagram or through you if they want, if they're in Marin County, because we're out there and we're cooking every Sunday. So people are free to just come out and you know we're always looking for more people to work with. And right now we're kind of on the DL and seeing where things go in this next phase, because the new location's kind of out there, but it's kind of in the cut. It's trying to find the right place.
That's great, Robbie. We don't want you to not be in the cuts. We want you to
hold it down.
Hold
Robbie.
it down.
That's right. Hold it down. Hold it down.
As long as you can. Okay, that's real. And also just to tell listeners, because it was pretty epic when we visited the governor's house. Can you just tell listeners a little bit about that day where we got to, who I might add, of course, lives in Marin County.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that was a good. That's right. We got a good intelligence about Gavin Newsom living at his parent-in-law's house in Ross, California, and so we just did what good neighbors did, and wanted to welcome him and move him back to the neighborhood. We blasted we walked all through Ross, all these, billionaires. That's like where the real money of Marin, like that's where you think about the real money of Marin. That's the real money. And we went through all there, and we had a parade of California Highway Patrol. We almost got kettled.
Yeah, full treatment that day, and
I think Sheriff, CHP, Fairfax PD, Central Marin Police.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
they were on us, so it was a good day. It was really nice.
Beautiful day.
Good vibes.
It was a beautiful day. It was a good visit.
It was a good visit. And shortly after that, he moved to a new house. So
there you go.
Wow.
And there you go. We're helping him move on. We're helping him move out of his parents' house. Because he's 50 years old, but he's still, he's living with his parent-in-law. No.
Maybe it's time. Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's funny.
Wow. So right now you don't have a way that people can support you guys financially, right? You don't have a Venmo or anything like that.
We don't really have a Venmo. That's what we need help on. We haven't been. Yeah.
Okay, so we got to support you guys. Well, I just want to say for listeners and viewers, if you're interested, if you're in that area or close by, please support these warriors. They don't get much support. People think that that's far away. It's actually not that far, and the reality is that they have it harder even than a lot of us out here, because they are outnumbered by the wealth hoarder haters, and that's real too. So we have to support them. Thank you, Robbie, so much. You can find Robbie Powelson on FaceCrack or Instascam. You can also hit us up, and we will get you his info directly. And we love you so much, Robbie. Any last words?
Hey, just thanks again for having us. And let's keep the solidarity going, and hopefully we can one of the day keep working until something will make that movement. So
that part.
Keep up the fight.
Yeah, much love. Much love. I'm gonna keep on climbing, just like Monte. Just that last time I saw Monte climbed up there on
Robbie.
That's right.
I'm gonna keep on climbing, man.
Okay.
That's right. That's all we can do.
All right. Thank you, Robbie. We'll talk to you real soon. All right.
Peace
much
out.
love, babe. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Again, you're listening and watching Poor People's Radio on
96.1.
That's right.
Yes.
On PN and KEXU. Poor Magazine on the dial. We ghetto scholars up in this, you know what?
Running the last
trying.
brain cell.
Poor T-Boo's doing his best over here.
Yeah,
Give big
hands up
love
to
to
him.
T-Boo.
He's doing the
Okay.
best.
There was a little.
This is what we got.
There was a little preemptory stomach issues, but we got past that.
I don't even want to know.
Okay, so I have, before we close out tonight, I have a short poem in honor of Mama Earth, but actually in honor of us four mamas.
Mm.
Because we know there'd be none of us without our mamas.
That's right.
And I want to shout out to Madre Tierra, Tonantzin, Qualicotlique, Pachamama, right here, who always gives so much to us and who we owe everything to. I also want to shout out to my Mama D, for without whom there'd be no me. But this goes out to all the houseless mamas, all the poor mamas, the migrante mamas, and the mamas who cross these false borders. Mama's in a corner, huddled up in terror, hiding from scam lord, the warden, the soldiers, migra, the police, and the bombas, and the lawyer. Mama's in the car, trying to remember to look at the stars, while the violent memories harden into a scar.
Mm.
Mama's on the park bench, trying to remember where her babies went, trying to remember what her mama said when her man left, what those nightmares meant, where her dreams are kept. I tried to hold Mama, cajole Mama, whisper, "It's okay, Mama." Scream her life into another day, Mama. But she could barely hear. Coming from the screams of her own fear, "It's okay, Mama, another day is near. It's okay, Mama, we can rest here." But we never did. And then they took me, her kid. And she stopped trying, buried in so much depression, what was left but beg for dying. But there was no time for crying, no privilege of stopping, because unlawful detainers and police cars were mobbing. But Mama said, "We got to go. Start walking. Take what you can hold, because bombs keep dropping and food ain't coming, and this war on the poor from Palestine to Turtle Island ain't stopping." Ibaye to all the mamas in Palestine, to all the babies, to all the papas, to all the warriors. Ibaye to all the mamas all across Mama Earth who are fighting for liberation every day in the stolen hurt. Oh, Mateo.
Oh, Mateo.
All right, my brother Moot. We're gonna say some more little commercial for Saturday, and then we'll be out of here.
Yes. So again, just come in and be with us in ceremony and prayer this coming Saturday. Again, to this beautiful medicine book on tour. We're gonna be at the Eastside Cultural Center, which itself is a monument of resistance.
Oh.
Third world resistance. So come with us. It's right here in Ho Chi Minh, East Oakland. You can Google the Eastside Culture Center.
Eastside Arts Alliance.
Eastside Arts Alliance. Thank you.
And what's the address, T-Boo? Does it show you on the flyer? It's
Yes.
on the...
Address is 2277 International Boulevard.
2277 International, formerly known as East 14,
Yeah,
for all
that's right.
of the Oaklanders.
All right. And it's this Saturday, 3 p.m. Show up if you can. And if you ain't current, you ain't local, you can get this beautiful book of medicine on poorpress.net. The On-Tour book across occupied Turtle Island. Clan marks, monuments, and plaques with 3 Ks. All 100% of proceeds goes to support the building of homefulness in Yalamu, in Tavangar, and in Uchun, and Pacific Northwest.
So that's all for this broadcast of Poor People's Radio. You can follow us on Facebook, X, or Instagram at Poor Magazine, at Poverty Scholar, and Poor News Network on YouTube. You can also get the full conversation, interviews, and any of our previous archive show on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, or whatever you get your podcast from. Our power to the people.
Power to the
Power to the
people!
people.